What's up, Drop Pod listeners? You can check out new episodes of the Drop Podcast every Tuesday and Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find all of our content on YouTube at the Drop Golf Podcast and on our socials. That's Instagram and Twitter at the Drop_pod. No matter how you consume us, like, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. Follow and listen along.
This is the Drop Podcast where we talk golf in the Garden State. I'm Mike Poro, and this is Ryan Coulott.
What's up, Drop Pod people? Welcome to our Interview Thursday episode. Boy, we got a special guest for you this week. Mike and I were able to spend some time with Dottie Pepper, announcer, pro golfer, author, just an unbelievable woman. We had an awesome time with her. Mike, I think we even said it. We definitely said it off cam, but we think we said it on cam. It was just like having a conversation with her. It was really, really fun to just sit and chat with her and talk about, what's been going on for her last 10 weeks. She's been going strong since before the Masters. We talked Scottie Scheffler. We talked PGA. We talked about her book. It just had a great time with her. I mean, it was really an incredible interview that we did. And again, I'm just floored that someone like her, of her caliber, her ilk, can come on and hang with two guys like us that don't really deserve to be in the same atmosphere, but she comes on and gives us time, and it's really pretty incredible. So
yeah, I mean, listen, who better to have on in 1 year of the June 6th agreement than Dottie Pepper? Today's June 6th. It's a perfect tie-in. And I know I teased it last week. It's method to the madness in terms of behind the scenes when I'm navigating these interviews and trying to figure out when we can get these guys on and these gals on and figuring that date out. This was perfect timing. And again, can't thank Dottie enough. Listen, when people listen to this interview, it's just three people chumming it up, talking about everything. And that's why I started it with, how are you doing? Because I feel like that's crazy enough as it sounds. I feel like that's how close we've become with Dottie. So yeah. Listen, they're going to sit back, relax. You're about to enjoy a phenomenal interview.
Absolutely. So as Mike said, sit back, relax, and enjoy. We got CBS's lead on-course reporter. Cheers.
George Wall Ford in Red Bank, New Jersey is family-owned and operated, proudly serving New Jersey residents with superior customer service since 1960. Rye, share your story about your experience there.
Mike, I went on a tangent in one of our episodes previously about it, but I can't say enough good things about George Wall Ford. I needed a new car. I had an old. I loved the brand that I had. I loved, it was an SUV, but had 165,000 miles on it. It was just time, So I hopped on over to George Wall Ford. I saw our guy Jerry, and Jerry and his team were awesome. I mean, from stem to stern, they're there, they're helping, they're knowledgeable. They have so many cars on the lot that you can go in and say, hey, I want a sunroof, a navigation. I want this kind of rims on it. I want this kind of this, that, and the other thing. There's a great chance that they have that car with all your specs, the color, all that thing. Me, I didn't particularly care. I just, I was like, hey, I want to be high up in the car, right? I need an SUV. I'm a big guy. I got a dog. I got golf clubs. I got beach chairs in the summer. I need something that's a little more rugged, a little more, again, I like to be higher in my car. And I went and saw Jerry. He pointed me in the right direction. And again, it's awesome to have that kind of help and support from your salesman to the finance guy to even they got somebody who helps you set up your car, right? I got an app on my phone now that's got my auto start on it. I can locate my car if I don't know where it is. I could take a trip to Japan if I wanted to and be like, did I lock my car? And I can go into the app and lock my car. So even people helping you set up that stuff, just the hands-on approach over there is incredible. So if you need a car, head on over to George Wall. And go ask for Jerry. They were awesome there. Again, stem to stern from everybody. I can't say enough good things about it. It was an unbelievable experience.
So to Ryan's point, there isn't a better place to shop for a brand new car. Just call 732-704-1932 and ask for Jeremy Wall. George Wall Ford in Red Bank for all your car buying needs. All right, so today's guest, again, do we have a treat here starting the month of June off? We have the lead on-course reporter for CBS Sports. Today's guest is Dottie Pepper. Dottie, thank you so much for coming back on today's show.
Thanks, you guys. I keep track of you, and you are moving. You are on the move.
Listen, I appreciate that. It's a grind. It's a grind. Listen, one thing I'm learning about social media is like it never sleeps.
No, it does not.
And if I'm not on my phone, and the running joke of the podcast is like, I'm on my phone 24/7. Whereas I know that if I don't respond instantly to do a DM, a comment, or something, I'm missing out. So, listen, I can't thank you enough for coming on today's show. Listen, I got a lot of things I want to dive into you about. But first and foremost, I guess, how are you doing? I know we haven't talked to you in a little over a year, but how are things going?
Things are, I think we're ready for a little break U.S. Open week. So this is, for me, coming up. I don't know if we want to keep the show evergreen, but this is 10 straight weekends on the road for me. So we can go back to the weekend prior to the Masters. That's when this odyssey started for me. And I have gotten home most weeks, but that's kind of road warrior stuff. And it's like, it's coming, but then when you get to the last bit and you can see that little light at the end of the tunnel, I'm really glad I'm staying with my dad this week, because there's going to be there's good conversation, good meals, good wine, good tequila. It's all on the back porch. So this is going to be good.
That's so good.
That's incredible.
That's so good.
10 straight weeks is rocking and rolling. What's a typical week like for you when you're doing this? Like, are you going from the tournament ends on Sunday? Are you going back home for a few days? Are you going right to the next location? And what's the week look like?
Yeah, I typically, so this is like Monday afternoon until Wednesday afternoon. That's my weekend. That's when I, do laundry, get caught up, kind of reboot for the weekend, get my hands dirty in the garden, all that sort of stuff where I take a breath. Normally I'm the first flight on Friday morning, so a 3:45 wake up call for a 6 a.m. flight, and you just kind of hit the ground running. You've watched the show on Thursday afternoon, so I'm still a live appointment television person as it comes to my golf prep. I mean, I can record it and I can watch it if something pops up, but I really try to hollow out that time, whether it's 3 to 6 or 4 to 7, whatever Thursday looks like, and then catch the first flight on Friday so that I can have my feet on the ground for a bit, talk to some players, watch the golf course kind of evolve in front of me, look at the changes that may have happened. We got some changes coming up this week at Memorial. So you go get a firsthand look at those, and then watch the show again on Friday. And we have a standard, if we're on the East Coast time, it's a 9 a.m. Zoom call with 45 or so people on it to go over stories, the rundowns, anything that the rules officials, the weather officials, all of that sort of stuff. So everybody's on the first page as it comes to, or the same page as it comes to the stories, whether the BA's building graphics, all of that sort of stuff that could blow up 45 minutes before you go on the air and they have to redo it all, but at least we've tried.
That's so good. I mean, and knowing you guys have been on the go basically since the end of January. When I've looked at the schedule, it's kind of been like go, go, go. And, as the season has started, what has been a storyline for you in terms of maybe one of the events that you've been at, or even multiple, leading up into Augusta? Because I know there's been a ton of storylines about this or about that, but and I know Augusta carries their own, aura about it. And then I'd love to get your take on the PGA after that. But even prior to then, was there something that stood out to in your mind?
Unfortunately, Mother Nature stood out the first few weeks that we were on the air, and even when when NBC had Phoenix, I mean, you kind of did what Mother Nature allowed you to do, and when you get into a situation on Saturday night at Pebble that it doesn't look like you're going to play any golf on Sunday, and you wake up to literally like the trees batting against your windows and those rain coming sideways, and you're looking at your dog going, I know you all want to go out, and I don't either. It was Mother Nature was the story of the West Coast, and Hideki with just a remarkable round to win there and win about an hour ahead of the leaders. And then much the same as NBC took over for the swing through Mexico, and there were some redemptive stories, and then it turned into the Scottie Scheffler story. Really starting at the API and into the players, and we got to ride that right through Augusta and beyond.
Yeah, I think definitely that was something early on. That the Hideki story was something I was like, okay, because when you think about early on, leading into Augusta and who was playing well at that moment, he was a name that playing that well on that track and then winning on top of it, you had to think like, all right, he's got a chance here at Augusta. But to your point, that's when obviously Scottie kind of, stole the show and is kind of, in a sense, just clearly separate himself from everybody else.
Yeah. And you think about Rory McIlroy sat with us on the set at Augusta, at Riviera. And one of the things he said was, my world kind of changed when I put a mallet putter in the bag. And sure enough, he's like, maybe Scottie would benefit from that. Well, that's probably the worst thing anybody could have ever said because he did. And if Scottie, because his ball striking is so elite, because he pitches the ball in such an elite manner, if he just putts okay, it's not a fair fight. To borrow Roger Maltby's comment as it pertained to Tiger back in 2000, we're talking that sort of separation between Scottie and the rest of the field. And sadly, it took being thrown in jail to probably derail some of that. And of course, all of that has been righted. But this guy is just something special. And to be able to walk with him as many rounds, as many weekends as I have, I consider it a pretty darn privileged place to be able to watch the best player in the world play golf.
Yeah,
correctly righted. I would add there.
Yes, correctly righted.
Yeah. I think. Go ahead, Rye.
I was just gonna, is that fair? You made the Tiger comparison there, and I want to ask you: is there something? Sometimes like we have recency bias, right? Like Scottie's playing at such an elite level. You said pitching it and all. Is that fair to do right now in his career to say he's having this, or is there some kind of like asterisk that we need to put on, like Scottie's playing as well as Tiger did at any point? Or is it truly fair to be like Scottie is playing as well as Tiger ever did, period? Like, can you put that comparison in?
Well, I think it's gotten easier to do that, Ryan, because we now have the ShotLink data to compare them for real. You can talk about his ball striking prowess and put it side by side with Tiger, and you can take windows in comparison, and they are very much alike. There is a recovery to some of the things that Scottie does that are very similar. Maybe not with when Tiger started doing all these crazy things, we'd never seen an athlete with that sort of speed play week in and week out and dominate the way Tiger did. Maybe, Jack had strength, but I'm not sure he had Tiger's speed of swinging the golf club. And Scottie seems to have blended both of those. He is strong. He's very fit. He's very flexible. His mind game is probably superior to anybody who's on the PGA Tour right now. And when you talk about him striking the golf ball and just not making silly mistakes, he is that far ahead of everybody else.
I think the one thing that differs between the two of them is like that aura, though. Because I think growing up, you always saw Tiger's name on the leaderboard.
Sure.
And for whatever the reason was, people seemed to kind of like buckle. You heard a Tiger roar or Tiger made a birdie. It was different. Do you think that's maybe the only thing that kind of separates Scottie from Tiger in this little run is maybe people have gotten to the point where maybe they're not scared the way they once were of Tiger? Comparatively exposed to Scottie? Or no, do you think it's you kind of thinking like, wait, listen, he's on that level? I
think we're getting there. Yes. He just hasn't been there as long. I think when people, we hear it the mumblings in the gallery when you see Scottie make a move. Oh, the S is going up on the leaderboard, and now there's the C, and now there's the F, and it's not going to go away. Those were the same things that you saw with Tiger, and it's very rare that Scottie goes away, and that's Tiger elevation. And granted, even we're taking a smaller snippet because look, he's only been a PGA Tour member for what, 5 years?
4 or 5 years.
Yeah. So we're just sort of turning page one of this book, but all the good things line up for Scottie Scheffler to be something super special over a very long period of time.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think it's incredible what he's doing. It is. Yeah. And I think that kind of like shows what he was able to do at Augusta, follows it up at the Heritage, and kind of just continues where it's like, you don't even know if he's going to show up because you don't know if he's going to have the baby yet.
Right.
Then all of a sudden he goes out there, to your point about being mentally strong, he's able to just somehow navigate that whole thing. That is something that I think he just has that other people just don't.
I think too, I do a morning study every day. And one of the things that happened to pop up that week at the PGA was having a clear conscience. And I'm sorry, there's no way Scottie Scheffler could have done on Friday what he did without a clear conscience about what had actually happened. And I kept going back to that with all of the drama and all of the noise, if he didn't have a clear conscience about what had actually happened when the world started to slow down, there's no way he comes out and shoots 66. He proves that he's human on Saturday, shooting a couple over with 0 in the tank. And what does he do on Sunday? He comes back and he finishes in the top 10. I mean, I just, that is a guy with his heart and his head in the right place. And it was just a disaster of circumstances that showed up with that man dying at 5 o'clock in the morning and all of this devolving as that morning went on.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that morning.
Yeah.
What was that like for you guys? Did you at one point think like maybe this was like fake? Like there's no way this is a real thing that's going on.
Yeah.
Like, did they really arrest Scottie Scheffler of all people? Like from someone like you're on the ground.
Yeah. So I woke up that morning. I think my alarm was set at, I want to say 5:45 because we had the morning shift on ESPN. I think we were on from 10 till 12. So, it's going to take better part of 45 minutes to get out there. Traffic's been a challenge already this week. So you get up and there was a notice from the PGA of America about make sure you build in more time. There has been a serious accident just outside the gates of Valhalla. Now the text chain starts, who's leaving the hotel when, does any, carpooling, all of that sort of thing. And we got in the car at 7:30 as the news of Scottie was really starting to gain traction. Jeff Darlington's reports had started to come out. I actually got the link and passed it around to our group. And there was an incredulous, come on, stop it, it's Scottie Scheffler. That's not true. And then when the mugshot came out, we were all in the compound. And the decision had been made because it was still very much a news story and evolving so quickly that we were not going to go on the air. It was all going to be an ESPN day. It wouldn't have been good for CBS to drop in the middle of all of this. On ESPN Plus, have to reset, deal with what you think you know at the moment. Because again, this whole thing was still really evolving. Scottie just shown back up on the property. Nobody knew what charges were. There was so much rumor and innuendo about everything that it was a good thing to just let ESPN continue with people who had actually been on site, were on the story, and then let things go through the day. But I honestly, we were all sitting in the producer's office, and when the mugshot came up, we thought, there's no way. That has to be AI. That has to be something else. That cannot possibly be Scottie Scheffler in a prison jumpsuit with a with a number attached. It just you just kind of going, is this really happening? And can you imagine what he was thinking? His whole team was thinking. Meredith at home with the baby, his parents. I mean, everybody. What the heck?
It did look fake because not only does it like it did, yeah, because it was just like it looks wrong, right? It's like that guy doesn't wear orange. He's not in a jump. Like he's just too good of a human being to be in.
Now, come on, now he wore orange at the University of Texas, but not this.
Well,
orange.
I mean, like, yeah, that's more of a burnt orange. But yeah,
that's right.
It's just such a different. There was something about that photo that, like, it was like that doesn't look. That doesn't look. Yeah, doesn't look good.
I mean, it would have been comical if he showed up on Saturday wearing orange, like Ricky Fowler typically does on Sunday. That would have been a running joke.
Gosh, I hope Nike didn't have any orange packed in their tournament color scheme for all of their players. It would have been a really bad time to have had that happen.
See, I think it'd be good for him to go the next time he's in the Louisville area at some tournament. He shows up Thursday and he's wearing an orange color.
Oh,
I
my
think
goodness.
Plays into I think that little bit of like comedy to it. I think would be a nice little, like, everything's good. We're having a joke. We're having fun with it.
We're good. Little levity with my goodness. But I would say you got to give people credit on site because by 1:00 in the afternoon, they were free Scottie T-shirts among the people in the gallery. And Saturday, I was out on the second hole waiting for tee shots to go, and I come up on these two guys with orange jumpsuits on, and they had Scottie's number on them. That was crazy.
Wow!
I mean, and that just ties into
so quick.
It ties into the ending too of the tournament because you kind of know that Ted Scott is leaving on Saturday for his daughter's graduation. You know, Scottie, you can probably, to his point, just kind of like thought it all, but then to rebound on Sunday and that finish on top of it, like.
Right?
How unreal was that with the down the stretch? You got Xander in the line. You got Bryson. I felt like the fans were all over Bryson. Like they wanted him badly to win. Like what was that like for you coming down the stretch there? You know, those last 3 holes.
The noise was great. I mean, you can say all you want about Valhalla. It provides great drama,
entertainment.
The layout of the golf course from the 13th in, even the 12th in. They're just really good golf holes that test you under the stress of a major championship. And it did exactly what everyone was hoping. It came down to the best players in the world. And I put Bryson DeChambeau among those best players. And it was what everyone wanted to see, the best players duking it out for the heaviest trophy in major championship golf. And it was a fitting end that it came down to the last hole, the last putt. Yeah. It was really cool.
It was great. It was great TV. It was great TV.
It was, yeah. It was.
I think that kind of ties in like kind of where I was going is now that like June 6th is here. It's 1 year of this framework. And I think to your point right there, when you're watching Bryson come down the stretch at the PGA, I think that's kind of what we all miss. Yes. I think we all miss those guys on the PGA Tour because those types of battles is what makes us all tune in. Yes. And not to say it's not enjoyable to watch other guys play well or play, different names pop up. But at the end of the day, we're all star driven. We like to see those names. Like kind of what are you thinking is the next step with this June 6th? Like now we're a year in and we've been told this and that. Like, what are you feeling?
I'm feeling a bit like that disillusioned fan, and I think that's what we're feeling. That the fans feel like, and sponsors too, feel like they've been sort of lost in all of. Still, 2 years later, I feel greed and I feel vengeance, and I feel that golf has taken the back seat to it. And let me clarify that too. Professional golf, men's golf has been harmed by that. The game of golf is so healthy and there's so many good things going on that these guys need to get this. They need to figure this thing out. Because Even, look at the Women's Open last week, and I didn't watch hardly any because I had another tournament to prepare for. Even though they were gutted by the best players in the world, some of them gone before, noon on Thursday, basically. You still had tremendous competition and people gutting it out for events that matter. And that's what people tune in to watch. They tune in to watch, the agony of defeat, the thrill of victory, all of that. And they want to see the best players playing the best golf in a competitive situation that we can all, we might hack it up, but we can identify with the competition and doing something that you really love doing, and you throw it all out there. And that's what the PGA Championship was. They threw it all out there. Yeah. And these guys need to get this figured out. My tea leaves don't operate in that manner, but I do know when it feels right and it sounds right and it looks right and the competition is right. And that's what we're all looking for.
Yeah, and I think that's it. I think that's it to a T, because I think we got to get it more than 4 times a year. And I think that we're at a point now where it's like, all right, we have to be adults in a room. We have business people now making business decisions.
Which is good.
Right?
Yeah.
And that, 100% agree. Like, this is what you do. This is what you do. The golfers golf. Like,
that's
okay,
right.
let's figure it out. And I think that's where, as like even a casual fan, like, I'm a junkie. I'm going to watch no matter what. I'm all in and I'm tuning in and I'm watching. But the average person, like I talked to my dad the other day, 65-year-old guy, lives down in Florida. He's like, Mike, I just can't tune in all the time and watch because it's not the same.
Yeah. And I think that's what people are starting to wake up to. And I believe, look, I'm on the inside of television. I know we've made some really good changes to make our product more watchable. There are less commercials. Things are more snug. It moves faster. We have more shots on television than we ever have. We have graphics that are more relevant. I mean, we are busting our tails. And I think it's really lame that the blame comes down on television when I know that we are doing everything we can to make the product under the current business plan as lean and as sharp and as fast and as entertaining as it possibly can be. But at some point, you got to kind of look in the mirror and say, we need to fix this. We need to fix this. And it's time. So, it's funny, growing up as a World War II fan, June 6th was always D-Day. And now it has a different sort of twist to it. And it's one of those moments that I think people remember where they were when they heard the news, and not necessarily for great reasons.
No. Fitting that it's the same day.
Right?
Yeah.
So let's storm the beaches and get this right.
Yeah.
Listen.
Yeah.
We can storm the bunkers.
That's right. That's right.
And speaking of your crew, like on CBS, like I think you guys kill it. I do. I think you all have your little niche that you just dominate your little area so well, whether it goes from Jim to you or Trevor gets involved with his perfect accent, or Colt adds his little 2 cents in, like Amanda's interviews. Like, you guys just have seemed like you gel so damn well that from a golf junkie's perspective, like it is for me, like I can sit there and watch. It's enjoyable. It's like refreshing to some extent.
Yeah. Our new producer, Seller Shy, has done an amazing job of building a terrific culture. A culture of work hard, play hard, of trust, of knowing that everyone is going to bring it. When we hear 3, 2, 1 go, everyone is going to bring their best stuff. And I think there's also an accountability that if somebody's kind of goofing off, we're going to say, hey, come on. We're all towing the line hard, and sometimes, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but we've done a lot of things really, really well and have improved. And I think too, it's not just on-air talent. It's the talent that is, the broadcast associates, the assistants that we have sitting in New York, just in edit bays when we're live on the air, wherever we are in the remote, guys who have classic example. We had 2 trucks that travel with us every week, Apollo and Titan. Now it's for the production managers and everybody who is behind the scenes, technical managers, and then there's basically our green room with 2 offices attached. We had people that travel with us every week, drove those trucks 31 hours from Fort Worth to Hamilton, Ontario. And they got there before it was time to rehearse on Wednesday. That is, those are layers of people that totally unsung heroes. And we can't do what we do without those people doing what they do. And I get a little emotional about them because they are busting their tails. And to have, shows criticized, it cuts to them too. They have worked so hard to make all of this happen that, applause to them because we don't do what we do without them.
Well, listen, it's enjoyable to watch. So, whatever's going on is you guys are killing it.
It's good.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah. The trust is the biggest thing that I take away from you saying that is like you guys all kind of have your own little lanes there that you're doing, and it's trusting that you're all going to bring it, and you're all in your little niche, and everyone's again, you trust your teammate that the teammate's going to make the right decision, do the right thing, and
I think too, it's a team with a lot of networking, contacts with teachers, with coaches, with performance-based coaches. Parents, all of that. And we don't get information from our digital Rolodex and just keep it in our own silo. We share that information so that the storytelling is complete and it's rounded and it's a conversation so that if Jim knows I've talked to whoever's teacher, I pass that along to him. So it might not be with my group and not be on my whole. It might not be appropriate timing wise, but he has it in his back pocket and he can throw it out there to whomever it's appropriate for. So Davis Riley at Fort Worth, I knew his mom through the lady who makes my work clothes. And they put him up when he was playing junior golf in the Jacksonville area. So I rang her up on Saturday morning and found out about his sister having collapsed the week before and having brain surgery. I had no other thing than to reach out to Kim Davis and say, hey, from a mom's perspective, what's cooking with your kid? And all of this comes out. So, and I didn't keep it to myself. I sent it along to Jim and sent it to the producer. So at the appropriate time, it could be brought up and woven into the fabric of what we're doing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about networking. That's it. I mean, that's how you get the stories, though. You have to sometimes put yourself out there and see what sticks in this sense, And so, listen, from a viewer's perspective, I think you guys are absolutely killing it. I love listening. I love watching, and I think, there's a couple things I want to quickly touch on is Nelly Korda. You being a phenomenal player in your own right, watching what Nelly has been doing on the LPGA Tour, what's that like from someone in your chair?
Man, it's like play every week you can, because when you got it going great, just keep going. It was funny last week. We had this week coming up on tour was on Sunday, and it was the LPGA tournament going to Atlantic City. And that brought back a flood of really good jump on the horse and keep riding it memories for me, because in 96, I took a 2-week break. I didn't know what end of the golf club to hold. And I had missed the cut at the Women's Open at Pine Needles. Yeah. So you can relate, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was bad. It was really bad. It was so bad that I missed the cut there. And I had to wait for my mother to come get me, because my truck was home in South Carolina, thinking my mother was going to come watch me over the weekend and then just take me home. I was ready to go home on Friday afternoon, not happily, but so I withdrew from the next 2 tournaments because I just knew that this was a bad road to be on, and beat balls until my hands bled, and played and walked and carried my golf clubs on a very hilly, mountainous golf course. But it was like I had to just beat myself into submission and figure it out. It was like, find it in the dirt, and then you can go back and re-enter a tournament. And I won 4 of the next 7 weeks. That doesn't even pale in comparison to what Nelly Korda's done, but I thought that was pretty freaking good.
That's a pretty good run.
But sometimes you just got to figure it out. And when you got the hot hand, keep playing.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen. Yeah. I mean,
she doesn't look like she's ever stopping.
No. Derailed by a 10, but for one freaky par 3 on a Thursday morning, and the U.S. Open goes up in flames. Fortunately, they still have 3 more majors left to play on the LPGA Tour, and they'll come in pretty quick succession here over the next 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And then obviously you're at Muirfield this week, another signature event. I know you're looking forward to your little break, but before you even get to that break, this is a big time week. Yeah. And all the guys are there. I was going through the field. There's really nobody missing from that. From your perspective, I guess knowing Scottie's playing, would you be surprised if Scottie doesn't win? Or are you expecting maybe somebody else like Victor Hovland, who won last year, who has obviously some good history there? Are you expecting something along those lines? What are your expectations?
Yeah, I mean, Javi certainly is on a better track than he was leading into the PGA Championship. Going back to Joe Mayo seems to have paid dividends right away. I'm waiting for Justin Thomas to break out, and this would be a really good place for him to do it. He's not very far away, a Louisville kid. It's always been an event that mattered to him with his family pretty close by. But then again, nobody'd be surprised if it was Scottie on Sunday afternoon. But here's what I hope for over these signature events is that we somehow get to bigger fields. I think they went from an extreme to the skinny extreme. And 69 players or 73 players, it's not enough competition. It's not enough people in these elite fields. And I hope we get to a Masters size field at some point because things are still being massaged. They're understanding what happens with these events when everyone doesn't have to play all the time. But can we get to 90 to 100 players? 100 to 120 max were the invitational size fields. Can we just get to a Masters size field and have 90 players? You can still at this, and maybe Tiger's event, because there's not much daylight, maybe that's a smaller field. But as we get into the bigger, bulkier daylight hours of the summer, come on, let's put more people into those events. And 90 is a great number. You can play in threes.
Cut? Would you say with a
cut? Doesn't it make Friday afternoons are so much better with a cut? And even if it's 50, fine. That's fine. And if it's the 10-shot rule, fine. But give me 90 to 100 players starting the field in the week. If weather becomes a wrinkle, you can still manage your way around it. You've got plenty of daylight. Give me a few more players.
Yeah, I think the cut thing is super important.
Huge.
Because I think not for anything, it adds a little pressure to these guys. Not that they don't have enough of it, but you got to get to the weekend to make a paycheck, and you got to get it done. And I think that's always been kind of like one of golf's things. You want to get paid, well, you got to play well enough, and you shouldn't just be getting paid just to show up. And I know that, to your point, the extremes are there.
Yes. Think about too, even AJGA events, there are cuts. We've even playing in cut situations your entire life, whether it was the state junior amateur surviving a medal play cut to get to match play, or getting through the NCAA championship. There's only so many teams that make it to match play. We have our DNA is surviving cuts at some point during the week. Why did that have to be blown up?
Yeah.
Dottie, I think it was just too much.
What's the 10-shot rule?
So anybody within 10 shots of the lead would make the cut too. So that's the cut this week at Memorial. It's 50 and ties, or anyone within 10 shots of the lead. So it could be everyone makes it to Saturday and Sunday. Okay. It could be.
Yeah.
It could be.
I still think it's got to be a number. Nah, it's got to be a number. It's got to be a number. Give me the top 50 in your
So that was, the Masters was that way for a while. The U.S. Open was that way for a very long time. I don't think it still is, but it was the 10-shot rule.
Yeah, I like the number. I think the number, but listen, I do also want to wrap this up. I obviously listen. We could sit here and talk to you forever. This is feels like we're just hanging
so
out.
are we setting a date for next year? Is that what we're doing?
Listen,
Okay, good.
Listen, let's do it. No,
Great.
Right?
But
Early June 2025.
I'm in. Good.
I do want to talk about the book a little bit, because I know last time that you're on, we pushed the book a lot.
Yeah.
And I say this to a lot of different people, that every time I say this line, I have to reference from your book. And I say this, again, if the audience doesn't know, Letters to a Future Champion, My Time, Mr. Pulver, Dottie wrote it. Go ahead, Ryan. What are you going to say?
Dottie, he's about to say this, and I can't tell you how many times he actually says this. And I think I know where you're going, Mike, so I'm not even sure. But if it is what I think he says it all the time now. In the last year since we talked, it's all he talks about is about winning at home. All he talks about.
Oh, yeah. Building blocks.
Dottie, I can't tell you how many times people say to me, Mike, what's your goal with the podcast? What are you looking to do? And I said, to steal a line from Dottie's book, I say, my goal is to dominate it at home. I need to know that I can win within the boundary lines of the state here in New Jersey, and then I'll branch out to other spots. But until I dominate here, I'm not going to look to see what's in Texas or California, because I haven't conquered here.
That's fantastic.
And I think your book, for a lot of ways, listen, is so good. It's so good, and I highly recommend it. That I don't care if it's an audio book. I don't care if you like the hardcover, Kindle, whatever. However, it is so good with so many good stories inside of it.
Yeah,
I had to tell you that.
Oh, thank you. So small circle. I was out running errands this morning, and my husband texts me, "I'm really hungry. I think we should go to Brookhaven for lunch." I'm like, okay, let's go to Brookhaven, where Mr. Pulver, designed the golf course where I cut my teeth. We had the best lunch. It was just kind of sitting there, and all of those same things came flooding back. Now, you used to be able to bomb it across the corner at number one, and now it's these huge northern pines that you would never even think about aiming at. But it all came flooding back, and it's those fundamental building blocks of cutting your teeth local, kicking everybody's tail, and then moving on to see what the next mountain is to climb. And incidentally, I'll throw this out there. I had 50 copies come back to me this week. So it was an outing I'm doing next week in Corning, where I played in my first LPGA event. And instead of 450 people signing up, they only had 400 people show up for this dinner. So they said, keep 50 copies. You can sell them again, and give the money to the charity. So I've got another 5 who already went to wholesale, but I got another 45 copies sitting on the website as of this afternoon.
Tell people where they can go get them. Tell these people where they can go get them.
So it's at www.dottiepepper.net, and it's right there, set up on a little web store. And Northshire Bookstore in Saratoga Springs now has them in their store and on their website. Again, they were the first people that stocked them in a storefront. So it was pretty cool that when I reached out to them, I said, I've got more copies. I said no last time, but I have a few more. And they were like, yeah, bring them down today. Great.
Oh,
awesome.
Yeah.
So
pretty
good.
neat.
It's a must read book. I can't tell you all the little nuggets in there, little different stories. And it's not even a golf related thing. You can probably relate to these stories outside of golf in your own little world that you deal with, whether it's basketball, whether it's golf, whether it's just business or life. These stories are so, so good, and they all resonate at home.
He was, World War I veteran, and I think resilience and curiosity were two big things in his life, and those were passed down. And his letters certainly spoke to a lot of that.
Yeah, 100%. Well, listen, Dottie, awesome. I can't thank you enough for coming on again today.
This was fun.
Listen, I'll be tuning in again this week. I'll be listening, and trust me, I'll probably be shooting you a DM too, saying keep killing it. But thank you so much for coming on today's show.
Great to hang with you guys again, and we'll set a date for 25.
Love it.
Works for us.
Deal.
Appreciate it, Dottie. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, you guys.